My name is Darren Waller. I play football for the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm a drug addict and alcoholic in recovery. I'm coming up on 5 years of sobriety. And, I've had the opportunity to speak to firefighters before, and it's always an honor to be able to be here on this platform and to share and speak and, give my experience and my story to share. For me, I see a lot of similarities in my field of work and in the work that you guys do. I feel like it takes an incredible level of toughness to do what we do. It takes having a couple screws loose to run towards what everybody else may be running from in times of danger, in times of high stress. And in that, I feel like there are a lot of great qualities that we develop, but at the same time, I feel like there are certain things that we may neglect. And I know for me, going into those environments and all the things that it demands of me, I tend to neglect me at times. I neglect the human being that's in the uniform that has to go and do what needs to be done. And for me, I look at that and I'm like, why is that? If you're not familiar with my story, I've been suspended from every level of athletics possible. I got kicked off my high school basketball team, suspended from my college team multiple times, suspended in the NFL multiple times, been arrested 3 times, drugs, alcohol, all that. And it's like, okay, of course it's a drug and an alcohol issue, but as I look back on it now and having gone through the work that I needed to work to get to sobriety, it's really more of an identity issue. And by identity, I mean who am I? And why am I this way? Why do I do the things that I do? And for me, that identity starts with certain emotional wounds. I talk about the similarities between us. Football-wise, if you look at a player and their name is not on the injury report, I guarantee you they're probably dealing with 3 different injuries, and you just don't know. And we continue to put ourselves out into the field and to do our job anyways. And firefighters as well, we know how to deal with this physical pain and to fight through it and to continue and to put ourselves out there and to accomplish what we need to accomplish and to provide. And that is outstanding and it should be applauded. But at the same time, there are these emotional injuries and these emotional traumas that happen that nobody can see. And from young ages, we're taught that we should hide, we should put to the side and not deal with and not bring to light. And those are the things that ultimately bring us down. I looked to myself when I was younger. One of the emotional wounds that I had to uncover and just was really an aha moment for me was when I was younger, I used to, get made fun of and be described as not being black enough. And it's okay, there's this stigma of acting black, you talk this way, you act this way, you listen to this kind of music, you're just supposed to be in a certain box. But as time went along, I realized why it had such an impact on me. It's because I walk around with black skin everywhere that I go. There's no way that I could possibly change this. And every time I may look in the mirror, every time I'm reminded of who I am, I have this black skin and the narrative is not being black enough. There's no possible way that I could ever change that or change my skin color. Because if I'm not enough as black, maybe I could change my skin color, but I can't. I'm stuck with this. And so I was stuck with that narrative as well. And when I was in 6th grade, I don't think I've ever told this publicly, I had a girlfriend in 6th grade. And, 6th grade love, it is what it is. So I had this relationship with this girl or whatever, and there's this teen club we used to go to. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, suburbs. There's this teen club that we would go to, and about to meet my girlfriend at the teen club, and I get there and she's all over this older kid who's a couple years older in middle school, and it's just kind of humiliating. All my friends were there, people that I know were there, and it's just a crushing moment. And it's how do I not feel this way ever again? Feeling lonely, feeling exiled, feeling like I'm not worthy of love. And so you take the not being black enough, feel like I'm worthy of love, and those things being inside me, it's how do I change this? How do I feel different? And, it gets to people pleasing at first. Like, how can I change who I am, change the way that I act to get you to accept me, to get you to see me as enough, because I don't feel that way inside of myself. And you can't win that game, There's 7 billion people on this earth. I could have a fantastic game out there. I swear, if you go into the comments and dig for something, somebody's gonna be in there trashing me somewhere, So it's like, you can't win that game in life. And, and when those things don't work, you just continue to go to desperate measures. And so you look at, a kid like me that was introverted, weird, quiet, just shy, very sensitive. Like, how does somebody like him get involved in drugs and alcohol in this way? And it's just like, I just had to, things didn't work for me to feel better about myself. So I had to just keep finding something that was stronger at making me feel better, or was stronger at quieting the thoughts down and the emotions. And, that's what happened for me. When I was 15, I started doing pills like painkillers, oxycodones, started smoking weed, started drinking. And yeah, it was to partly be a part of a crowd, but it was really just to change the way that I felt. And I feel like that is, oftentimes what can keep us in these states of hopelessness in a way. And, we can be so good at our jobs. We can be respected as the men and women of strength in, our locker rooms, in our rooms where, we get together and, we can share these war stories and whatnot, but really, we're kind of falling apart on the inside. And we're not even aware of that fact. And for me, it took 10 years of being in that mess, in that lifestyle, and, being forced to stop, overdosing, and having to be like in this place of fear and just like, okay, now I really don't think I can control what's going on. I could go with the facade of Division I college athlete, in the NFL, checking every single box of accomplishments off, but still being left with a sense of emptiness and essentially why is this not enough? And it's because very early on, I made this decision that my performance was more important than just who I was. Like, somehow along the way, getting to a certain point was more important than the person I was becoming along the way. And that can't be a sacrifice that we're willing to make in order for us to live healthy lifestyles, in order to survive, in order to continue to move on. And it's like, I'm sitting here and learning all these things today and hearing these people talk about ways that we can take care of ourselves physically, ways that we can improve our lifestyle, improve the way that we eat, improve the way that we do these things. But if I don't feel like I'm worthy of investing in, then I'm not gonna do any of these things. Like, I have to really know how I feel about myself. I often think of, growing up in church when I was a kid, you always hear the principle of love your neighbor as you love yourself. And it's like, there's no way you can possibly love someone else or go about living a lifestyle of love unless you know how much love you have for you, like your neighbor as yourself. Well, if I don't have love for me, then I don't have love for other people. If I don't take the time to reflect and understand me, I'm not gonna attempt to reflect and understand somebody else that may have a different background than me, that may have different ideals or different beliefs than me. Like, I'm not gonna take that time. I'm not gonna invest in these exercises that my physical therapist is telling me to do, because yeah, they are inconvenient, but I have to see past the inconvenience and see that the longevity and the benefit that it's providing me when I put myself in these situations. And yeah, dealing with these emotional wounds is a very uncomfortable process. It's very easy to continue to put it under the rug. It's very easy to continue to put ourselves into work and to rely on what I can accomplish and this, that, and third, because that's what we've been taught our whole lives. And here I am today saying and admitting and knowing that my life has gotten better because I've chosen to go the uncomfortable route of unlearning all the things I was taught when I was younger. Because it was always, never let them see you sweat, man. Why you crying? Like, why are you doing this? Why are you acting that way? Like, man, just like forget all that. And it's like, I can't forget all of that. Like, I can think I'm forgetting all that, but I'm carrying this baggage and this pain around with me every single place that I go. And, at some point we got to realize, like, what's the cost? Like, what's the cost of me making all this money? Like, what's the cost of me being the best at my job? But I go home and, I can't sleep unless I put copious amounts of drugs and alcohol in my body. Like, at what point is enough enough? And, it took going to rehab for me, where people say rehab is for crazy people. It takes therapy, where if you see a therapist, something's got to be wrong. Like, I still see a therapist every day or every week to this day, and it's taken these points of investment in myself. The best thing I could ever do was to put the entire world on hold and go to rehab for 30 days and to learn a different way of living this life, of loving myself, of appreciating myself, and making sure that the human being is right before I ever put a uniform on ever again and go out into the field and do what I have to do. I had it backwards the whole time. It was like, well, if I just did better and if I performed better and if I was good, then I'll feel better about myself. But no, it has to be the other way around. It has to be, I feel good about me. I love what I'm about. I respect what I'm about when I look in the mirror. And then from there, that's when the performance takes care of itself. There's no way it could possibly be the other way around. And it's indicative of my career. If you look at my football career, prior to me getting sober, going to rehab, doing all these things, and looking at it after, it's completely different. And it's not, I don't think it is really anything physical. I feel like it was all something on the inside. It was an emotional transformation and a spiritual transformation. And, as far as spiritual, I just basically mean like a purpose being greater than just you and what you want and what you're seeking in this world, because we're self-centered people. We want pleasure, we want comfort, we want things, we want them the easiest way possible. But, for me, a spiritual awakening is something where you have a purpose that's bigger than you. Like, no matter how I may feel, the most important thing to me is my impact being left on the world, my impact being left on people. And there's no possible way I could have done that without looking at these things that the world sees as taboo and as things for crazy people, and it's just not that way. These are things, these are weapons that we need to have: therapy, meditation, journaling, all these things, counseling, like whatever it is, because we can't go through life without holding things in. If I could recommend one thing, it's having somebody, no matter who it is, that you can be completely honest with about everything, every single thing that you're going through, because one thing you may hold back will continue to fester and will continue to, you'll have to feed it some way through addiction, through whatever possible addiction it could possibly be. You're gonna have to continue to feed that and to continue to hide that. And hiding prevents freedom. And no freedom in your life prevents you from ultimately being the best person you could possibly be, the best firefighter you could possibly be, the best football player you could possibly be, the best whatever, father, wife, husband. Like, we can no longer hold ourselves back from being that just because it's uncomfortable for us to share our feelings, to share what we've gone through, and to let that go. There's so much more relying on it than just our sense of comfortability. So, that's the message that I try to communicate. The best things about my life today aren't contracts or yardage or however many people follow me or if I'm on TV and all this. It's really being a part of something that's bigger than myself. Because even to this day, it's not the most comfortable thing in the world to just come up and get on camera and get in front of people and be like, this is who I am, this is what I've gone through. But if it allows somebody to something to shift in somebody else's mind, and to be like, to get them to evaluate why they do the things that they do and to seek a possible change, and them to be like, what I've been doing isn't enough. The world has been telling me it should be enough, but it's not. Like, how do I go about this differently? That's the best possible thing that I could do, and that really fills me up inside. It makes me feel like that, I'm doing something that's worthwhile, because, before, when you're in addiction, your world spins around you. When you want to get high, what you can get at the time that you want to get it, and you can use people and use all these things in order for you to get what you want. And that leads to nothing but emptiness and just futility and just, a spiritual stench on the inside of you that you smell everywhere you take yourself. So I'm just grateful to be here, to share my story. Hopefully you guys can take some from this and to, learn, apply, and to, inject yourselves back into society to be the best people you could possibly be. That's all I got.
What's the hardest part about staying consistent? Or like, how do you manage consistency on a regular basis?
The hardest part about staying consistent is, I would say, having the willingness to be uncomfortable on a daily basis. I feel like everything as far as my physical routine is uncomfortable as far as workouts. You talk about nutrition. I feel like it's uncomfortable to sacrifice the foods that you may want to eat as opposed to what you should eat. I feel like it's uncomfortable to sacrifice certain people that you need to hang around, certain types of content that you need to be taking in every day that may not be nourishing you. So I would say consistency is all about keeping yourself in a place of uncomfortability, and also, striving for a sense of humility, because it's very easy to stay in our pride as human beings and feel like we know certain things, and to feel like, we got it under control at all times. But really, we need to learn at all times, which requires us admitting that we don't know everything, and we need to have people around us that we can lean on, because we're not always gonna be strong, even though we feel like that's what we should be. So it's uncomfortable to do all those things, but you got to step into it.
If you could go back and ask for help, how would you go about doing that?
If I could go back and ask for help when I was 15 years old, I would have just talked to my guidance counselor probably, or just went to my parents and just told them exactly what I was feeling, because I don't know, we're taught to hide so many things, and even as parents, we sometimes, I feel like parents will present themselves to kids like they never messed up, or like they never did the things that they did, and it's like, I would try to talk to them, but I don't know, I guess the way that I can change that is when I become a parent, I can let them know everything that I did, instead of being like, man, why are you doing that? Like, why are you acting like that? But just be real. So I don't know. I'll start with just talking to a counselor, talking to anybody, really, just getting those feelings out of me. Like, hey, this is what I'm feeling, because me holding it inside took me on a ride that I didn't plan on going on for another 10 years after that. So just somebody around me, just word vomiting, essentially.